Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya.
Sadhana Chatushtaya is a teaching of the divine sage Adi Shankara. This teaching refers to the 4 traits that one should strive and develop before and during one's spiritual journey. These form the bedrock for spiritual growth and personal transformation. The gardens surrounding the Dhamek Stupa, built by the Mauryan Emperor Ashoka, was magnificent to say the least. The ancient 1,000-year-old remnants of Buddhist monasteries and schools of meditation opened the mind to wonderful inner dimensions. Sitting there in contemplation was a gift in itself. This is where I share my thoughts on Samadhana.
Namaste. Welcome to KYG. I'm at Sarnath, and there is the beautiful stupa erected by Ashoka to honor the teachings of the Buddha. And these are the famous ruins at the Sarnath Temple. These places have the pride of being the oldest university in the world. Nalanda University, Sarnath University, teachings from Gaya, which is a little further from here. These are the places where ancient wisdom began to spread, began to be taught to seekers of truth, seekers of higher learning, higher wisdom. So I begin this class with, again, the same sense of humility. I'm enchanted to be here, to be in the place where Lord Buddha gave his first sermon, to be a place where so many kings came here, honored this greatest teacher who taught the concept of nirvana, liberation, ultimate freedom. We have been learning of the 6 virtues, Shat Sampatti. We talked of Viveka, Vairagya, and the 6 virtues or Shat Sampatti as the 3rd pillar of the aspirant's prerequisites, if you will, or those pillars that form the foundation of a spiritual growth, of a spiritual sustenance, of actually being able to experience divinity within. The last one, in the 6th one in this, is called Samadhana. Samadhana. In Hindi there is a saying, Samadhan ho jao, Samadhan ho jao. Isko Samadhan karo. In Tamil they say, Samadhana padta. Samadhana means consoling. Samadhana is calming down. Samadhana is providing a resting place. Resting place. So in your practice, and after all your practices, after all your social gatherings, meetings, after all your day, when you are alone, where does your mind find the Samadhana? Where does the mind come and rest? When you're all alone, where does the mind rest? When you close your eyes to meditate, where does the mind come and rest? It is important for us to understand this resting place of the mind. When you're driving alone to work, you're most probably alone in the car. And if you are, then what is the level of your thinking? What is the nature of your thoughts? What is the frequency or the vibrations of your thinking? Are you thinking of food? Are you thinking of people? Are you thinking of relationships? Are you angry? Are you upset? Are you just simply contemplating on events of the previous day or something that is to come by? That will reflect back to you what your samadhana is, where your state of mind is. If your mind begins to rest in the lap of God, if you will, in the lap of the Supreme Self, every time you're alone, you just go back to saying, I have come home. I have come home. I have come home. What do you do coming home? Nothing. Why do we need to come home then? This finding of the true self is samadhana, the ultimate samadhana, the ultimate resting place. The rooster comes to roost, is that how they say it? The rooster comes to rest or something like that, right? So the rooster comes home to roost. In other words, the self, after all these millions of lifetimes and all these experiences, finally says, okay, the jiva says, all right, I'm ready to go back home. and he goes back home. And then perhaps after some rest, he decides to come back again. We don't know. There's no he at that point. And once the river merges into the ocean, it becomes the ocean. Samadhana, the true Samadhana, is when you begin to live life as the ocean. We were once sitting around Sai Baba, our teacher, and Swami, as we call him dearly, endearingly, so I'll call him Swami. Swami said, what is the end of spiritual practice? What is the end of all your sadhana? And each one of us said something. We said liberation, we said something. And then Swami caught on to the word of moksha, or liberation, and nirvana. And he said, so what does that mean? What is nirvana? And one boy said, nirvana is Swami, the river merging into the ocean. And Swami said, so is merging into the ocean, is that the end of spirituality? And we were like, duh, it does sound like the end, right? Once the river merges into the ocean, where else does the river go? And then Swami beautifully said, that is not the end of spirituality. River merging into the ocean is the beginning of spirituality. My God. What an amazing statement. Because he said, you stop living as a river, you begin to live at the ocean now. You'll begin to live as a spirit, you begin to live as the almighty universe in the universal consciousness. That becomes your domain, that becomes your true home. There you find Samadhana. Samadhana is where the caterpillar calls it the end and the master calls it the butterfly, where the caterpillar transforms himself into the butterfly. Samadhana is when Jesus dies and Christ is born. Samadhana is when you and I, in the depths of our meditation perhaps, realize that within us lies this door that opens to infinite expansion, infinite love, infinite in everything. That's just oneness, one spirit, one consciousness. Tada drishtuhu swarupe avasthanam. Patanjali, in the first very 4 verses of his Yoga Sutras, summarizes the entire teachings of the Yoga Sutras. So the 4th of those verses, Atha Yoga Anushasanam, he says, let's start teaching it. And yoga, he defines yoga, Chitta Vritti Nirodha. We'll learn this as we go along. And then the 4th stanza, he says, Tada Drishtu Swarupe Avasthanam. He says, when yoga happens, then the drishta, the seer, withdraws everything unto himself. Samadhana, going home. Now, for someone who is not in the spiritual path, they'll be like, this is so exciting, life is so happening here. I mean, you get fantastic things to eat, you get lovely things to watch, you get friends to make, and you have TV shows. And what do you mean leaving all this and going home? What do you get by going home? There's no answer. What do you get by going home? You're just going home. And the way I look at it is, you're at work the whole day, 8 hours a day, 12 hours a day. If not you, your spouse. Okay? So you're working, you're earning a livelihood. When you're working and earning a livelihood is what is going to help you sustain and grow in this world. So you need more money, you can save up, you can buy new things, whatever. So earning and making money or working hard is the prime action of your day. Everything else revolves around it. If that is so very important, then why do you come home? Why do you want to come home? What is home? Home is all expenditures, right? You come home, you got to furnish the home, you have to have a home in the first place. Then you furnish the home, you buy television sets in the home, you have to feed yourself and others in the home. Everything in home is just expenditure. It goes completely against everything that you did in the first 8 hours of the day, correct? And then after eating and watching TV and doing everything, you just go to sleep. Again, totally unproductive. It's either expenditure or completely unproductive. 16 hours of the day that you spend in your home, and then you go and spend 8 hours of working. If the work is going to get you more money, why not work more? Why go home? You know the answer to this, right? You go home even though it appears unproductive, even though it appears useless, even though it appears totally a waste of time, even though it appears a lot of expenditure, wasting all the resources that you just spent in earning money, even though it appears that, it is your home. It is where you get rest for the heart, for the spirit, for the body, for the mind, and renews you so that you can come back and work harder and better and be more productive in the 8 hours that you go to work. This is very important to understand. If we find our true home, imagine how much more renewed we will be, how much more refreshed we will be when we step out into the world, when we open our eyes and begin the day. How much more refreshed, how much more renewed, how much more confident, how much more empowered will we be? Because we have found our true home, we rested in our home. Spirituality, oneness, the expansion of consciousness, the aim of all of this is not to make you unfit in the world. The world becomes a very small part, a small fragment of your consciousness, and therefore you can do that and you can participate in the worldly activities and whatever it is that the world demands of you, whatever relationships and roles that you have to play. All of that is one small tiny fraction of the real you. Once you realize that, once you see that perspective from your home, then you come out very empowered. And that little fragment, whether it exists or not, does not affect your home, the real you, yourself. Samadhana is a very powerful quality to cultivate, to practice. In the beginning, you ask yourself, where does my mind rest when I'm alone? Does it go to food? Does it go to sleep? Does it go to harboring thoughts about people or events? Or does it simply rest in the self? Practice allowing the self to rest, the mind to rest in the self. Practice going home. Find your way back home. We have lost our way back home. And as Ramadas, a saint from the US, very beautifully put it, let's walk each other home. Let's walk each other home. That is what it's all about. This whole spirituality, this whole practice, this whole yoga and all of that. It's not to fix your back, not to fix your stress and all of that. All that will automatically figure itself out. All of that will get aligned because all of that is one tiny fraction of the real you. This is why I say that meditation is not a quick fix for something. Meditation, the Kaivalya meditation, the Kaivalya Marga, I don't differentiate between the two, the Kaivalya path. The path itself is meditation, one of meditation, because you're constantly becoming aware, constantly mindful of every thought, every word, every deed that you do, because you're either interconnected with the elements or with the 6 virtues, and you're slowly cultivating a divine environment where your body becomes a temple, and your spirit begins to shine through your eyes, through your words, through your deeds, automatically. You don't have to make up your mind, it'll happen automatically. There is nothing to gain, nothing to lose. It's just oneness and abundance in Samadhana. So, with that we think we have kind of got an idea of the 6 virtues, the 6 wealth, if you will, the 6 modes of wealth or the 6 types of wealth. Shat Sampatti, Sampatti is wealth, like I explained earlier. Shat Sampatti, Sama, Shama, which is equanimity of the mind. Dhamma, restraining of the senses. Uparati, withdrawing the mind away from the senses. Titiksha, enduring that, holding that withdrawal and holding that path, being one focused on that path. Shraddha, unconditional faith, belief and dedication to your path. And Samadhana, finding your home. These are the 6 virtues that form the 3rd pillar of the 4 foundational pillars: Viveka, Vairagya, Shat Sampatti. We'll explore the 4th on my last day in Varanasi. Hopefully, I'm hoping to do that tomorrow if things fall in place, because I have to leave early morning back to Kanchipuram. If not, we'll find a place in Kanchipuram. Let the universe decide. What a great honor this has been to teach from Sarnath, to teach from Varanasi. I'm using the word teach very loosely here. I only believe in sharing my perspectives. It's up to you to grab it, to understand it, to digest it. So keep listening to these videos again and again. That is Shravana. Then do manana, take notes and then contemplate on those notes, contemplate on the thoughts that made sense to you, contemplate on how you can tweak these thoughts and make sense to yourself from where you come from, based on your background, your culture and your upbringing and your own spiritual practice, whatever that may be. And then bring it into nididhyasana, assimilate that into your everyday life. Allow a transformation to happen. Transformation is not, we are not trying to become something, we are not trying to become enlightened, but we are actually in the transformation, we are actually dropping off all the unnecessary things that we have assumed to be us. All the 5 sheets get dropped off. Samadhana. So may this holy place, this beautiful place where ancient teachings first began in Buddhism, which is an offshoot of Sanathana Dharma, may this place energize us. May this place energize you and me, and may we be guided by these greatest teachers so that we find our true home. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Namah Shivaya.
Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya.